Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Chasing the Tide, your saltwater connection on the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. I'm your host, Dustin Nichols, back at you with another episode. Been on a little hiatus here, holidays and all that, moving in a little healthcare after that. We're kind of working on that right now, but we'll get into that later. Right now, we're going to bring in our guest. We have epic guest. Man, been tearing up the tournament scene on the Florida Redfish League. And we're going to see what we got. We got Matt Lanier in the house, Salt Strong Angler, Matt and Yak, 8 rods in the back. What's up, man?
What's going on, Dustin? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's going, man. It's going. Good to get you. Appreciate you jumping on here, jumping on Chasing the Tide with us, man, and getting to share. We're going to do a little recap and talk a little bit. You know, we'll get started here. And then we're going to recap the latest tournament. You took the win over there in Steenhatchee, right?
Yes, sir. We were in Steenhatchee for the season opener, stop one.
Stop one, busting it out. Well, yeah, if you don't mind, get everybody, introduce yourself, give everybody a quick background, just a little fishing history, and then what led you into that plastic boat.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So been fishing my whole life. Started early up here on Lake Seminole. Dustin, but that's where I live. Lake Seminole is home for me, and that's where I spent a lot of my younger years. My grandfather lived up here, right next to Wingates. A lot of people may know Wingates, and Jack Wingate was my grandfather's best friend. So I grew up bass fishing up here since I was pretty young. But just a handful of years ago, 4 years ago or so, I decided to start kayak fishing to do tournaments up here on the lake. Is what I decided. I'll start doing some tournaments up here in a kayak, and so made plans, got a kayak, got one under me, and when I bought it, I'm in the middle of rigging it up, and a buddy of mine, he, used to go out to the coast, and he said, "Hey, man, you should really take your kayak out there to the lighthouse at St. Mark's, man. They're busting out there right now." So sure enough, that's where I headed, before I even went to my own backyard. Went out there to St. Mark's and had like a phenomenal day, man. I probably caught 200 fish that day. And I've just slayed them. And I've never been able to duplicate that day again, but that's what set me on my path to the salt. And that's where I've stayed ever since. And so not long after that, I just had to learn everything as fast as I could. I knew my fair share about bass fishing, but I didn't know anything about redfish, speckled trout, flounder. You know what I mean? So I needed to absorb all the information I could, and that was how I found Salt Strong. Long story short, there signed up as a member to absorb everything I could, and before long, fast forward again. Then I started working in their social media department, helping them with some of their posts and all of their different social media accounts and avenues. And from there, I just started, kind of doing my own fishing content, on my own, and really just doing really well. And before long, there was an opportunity for me to join the content team, the fishing coaches, and that's just how it worked out for me. And I've had the opportunity to spend a lot of time on the water my whole life. And when I got into a little plastic boat a few years back, the freedom of that was like something I've never experienced before. And I've always needed the freedom to just kind of be free, if you will, kind of just no boundaries. And kayak has really given me that freedom to just go anywhere, launch anywhere, and get where places where other people may not go, and just find fish, and really just solace on the water, man.
That's it. I mean, that was the big selling point for me, was the the ability to launch wherever, roadside launches, backwater stuff that the boats can't get to. That's a big plus here, coming to Texas from, the southeast with the tide swings we have over there. I know I've talked about it before, but you couldn't wade fish over there. You wade fish in Texas, like everybody hauls button their boats and jumps out and wades, a mile and a half. And then, you wade your way back and kind of zigzag through it or whatever and find the fish, But I was like, man, everybody's doing that. So I would wade fish before I surfed. Sometimes I'd go in the moonlight and throw topwaters early on the flats down in Corpus. And then I started seeing people on kayaks, 12, 13 years ago. And it's just like, dude, if I get one of those, I could fish all over the place. And then I remember, I tell the story all the time. I had old bright yellow freaking Perception Pescador 12.5. And then I car topped on a little Toyota Matrix and then a little Corolla S or whatever it was. And then I was like, man, this thing's too plain. I'm gonna do a little black fade on the front, the bow and the stern. And then everybody at work would say, man, you ride around that bruised banana on the top of your car. So everybody that started out in the bruised banana. So that's always been a good story, about how I got in the game, and that was that sit kind of just a little scooped out, kind of similar to an ocean kayak. It's got a little scoop out seat with just a seat back. So your butt was always wet and you always had, but that thing was fast.
Actually, full transparency. My first time, sorry to cut you off. My first time kayak fishing was actually when I was really young, man. There was this lake that had these sit-in kayaks, like they were sit-in paddle kayaks, and they were probably 9 feet long, maybe. They weren't like anything special, and we used to fish in this little stock lake with that thing, and I didn't even know kayak fishing was a thing back then. I was probably like 14, 15 years old, but we used to go out there and tear up little, panfish and little bass and stuff,
red breast,
fly rods back then.
Crappie.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
And I didn't know that was a thing. And then fast forward, 20 years, and it's like, this is a sport now, so it's definitely come a long way. And it's interesting to see how it's definitely come full circle in my life. How like when I was a kid, I used to do that, and I didn't even know what it was. I didn't even know it was a thing. And fast forward 20 years later, and here it is. It's like that's where I've returned to.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. We had a big, we had a lot of neighborhood ponds. We had golf courses with ponds, and then I'd go to the golf course with my grandpa, or we go saltwater fishing. And I was always bass fishing, and they'd always be like throwing those big old stick corks on them pin number 9s and 209s and big old reels. So screw this, I'm taking my lightning rod and my little Shimano with me, throwing these stingray grubs, and I whoop up on them. They'd be throwing bait, and I'll be catching just as many fish. It's pretty funny how things progress over the years, and all this tackle we got now, and all this other stuff we got going on with the motors and the pedal drive, just taking off with the technology and the way the boats are designed and all the accessories you have on them now, the electronics and forward facing sonar and all that good stuff. It's pretty crazy how far it's come along here lately. So, man, yeah, long way from starting that old bruised banana, I'll tell you that.
No doubt.
Woo. Well, shoot, man. Well, let's get into it. I know the 2024 season kicked off. I know Florida Redfish Series started last year, introducing their kayak, stops as well. They added the kayaks along with their boat series, and it took off pretty good. And coming into 2024, they started out strong down there in Sneathatchee with I think 76 anglers on the kayak side, somewhere around there, mid 70s. And you took the win,
right? Man.
Yeah. You took the win down there.
Yeah, we had 76 people in the kayak division. The boat division had 85, I believe, there. So they were looking at almost 180 people in the boat division on top of the 76 that were in the kayak division. And we did come out swinging. First event of the year, we actually doubled our a season opener last year, and last year was actually a record number for their events as well. So we doubled their record number last year for our season opener this year. So yeah, it's just really exciting to see how fast the Florida Redfish Series is growing, and how fast it's taken an interest and just really kind of taken off, man.
Yeah, it was cool to see that they worked something out with Hobie, and it's now a Hobie Worlds qualifier as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, we're
to add that to the discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Real fortunate for that to become a thing. Super, super grateful to both Hobie and Florida Redfish Series for being able to work that out, man. That's just awesome that they were able to come together and be able to figure out how to make this, something that brings anglers together again, and bring back the salt into a lot of that, give us a chance at Hobie Worlds, through the saltwater series again, something that
Right.
hadn't been
Right.
seen for a while.
Yeah, we hadn't seen that since the IFA events. It's been a while. So it's pretty cool. I'd love to see some side pots thrown in the mix as well. The entry fees relatively low compared to what we pay for some of our other national level events, on the bass side, and then some of ours over here. And I don't know, we got a lot of kickback over here in Texas on the CPR events. Um, we had some rounds going around where they were putting a sponge or something to lift the redfish up to get them within the slot. Say if they were over, they could stick something underneath them, and you really couldn't tell unless you really had to look at stuff. But there was some stuff going around. Some people got some fish kicked from the last few events in the kayak saltwater series that kind of evolved from the KBF redfish series. And I know a lot of people in Texas got a bad taste in their mouth for the CPR events, and that's why most of our redfish events are still live weigh-ins, where I have a live well on my kayak and run O2 and everything, and bring the fish in alive, which is crazy. I'd love to see it go CPR. It just makes it easier on you're not worrying about fish care all day and all that kind of stuff. And you don't have a live well with 10 gallons of water and 2 8-pound redfish weighing you down as well. But luckily, we have motors allowed in these events. But on the East Coast in Florida with the tide swings, no, there ain't no way I'd do that. Yeah,
That's a
that'd
lot of
be
weight
tough.
with those 9-foot tide swings.
That'd be tough as hell. But yeah, man, let's get into the detail a little bit about leading up to this event, any kind of pre-fishing or anything. You don't have to give away all your secrets, but just to kind of overview of the situation, and then and what helped you what paid off to take the win, what you stumbled upon there.
Yeah, man. So actually got down there a couple weeks early to start pre-fishing, and truth be told, I'd only pre-fished 2 days, and both the 2 days I pre-fished when I first got down there. Those were kind of lackluster too. I didn't put a whole lot of stock into them. Usually when I first get down somewhere, I'm just trying to get on the water, put my eyes on as much water as I can, and
Yep.
look around. So, I got on the water a couple days, and I went and looked, and one of those days I ended up getting stuck out there on dry ground, waiting on water from low
Oh yeah,
tides
I saw
again,
those
man.
pictures. Yeah,
Just
there's a few of y'all
just
out there. Yep. Yep.
yeah, brutal. And so finally, when I got water back, I went back to fishing, and I fished for a couple hours and ended up catching my first fish of the year on that day. And that was like the first time I'd or second time I'd been out, but first fish I'd caught. And but the day or so after that, I started having a lot of pain, a lot of chest pain, pain in my shoulder, and my ribs, and and it just kept getting worse. Debilitating pain. Finally ended up calling
Mhm.
my doctor. Long story short, I spent a week in bed. Had to do a bunch of x-rays, EKG, blood work. I've done an MRI. um, we really don't have a whole lot of answers. There's some muscle tear, and there's also possibly some damage to my shoulder that I had surgery on. But I still have to do a CAT scan or CT scan on my ribs and lungs and chest. But still trying to figure out what's going on, man. But I was in pain a lot of the time I was down there, is what I'm getting at. And I spent a
Yeah.
lot of that time in bed, and I didn't get to pre-fish like I wanted to. Well, Thursday before the event, by this time everybody's down there, and
Right.
I have nothing to show for the 2 weeks that I've been down there. And my buddy comes in, or my buddies start coming in, and they when they get there, they said, "Look, man, we'll help you with your boat. All you got to do is get in it. Like if you can handle everything else, we can help you load and unload." So
Yeah.
we ended up hitting a couple spots, and one spot that we hit, we found uh some fish. And by some fish, I just mean some consistent fish. We didn't
Yeah.
find any winners, we found like 23s,
Yeah.
biggest fish we found was
Oh,
24 inches.
mid slot
But
fish, you know.
correct, correct. But we found a pattern with
Right.
those fish.
And that's
We
important.
found like exactly. We found something distinct with those fish. We figured out the way that those fish were moving. Now, we did end up fishing a few other places, and those were really lackluster. We all caught fish at the other places that we pre-fished, but we all worked for every single fish we caught. We ground out every single
Yep.
fish. It wasn't like they were pattern fish. We weren't able to like pick up a trend and say, okay, now I can follow this pattern all the way down this line and I'll pick up a fish at least, 2 out of 3 spots.
Yeah.
We never found that at the other places. So come captain's meeting, when we all met up, and we just kind of talked about, what the plan was, and knowing that now there's 76 people coming to fish this event,
Oh yeah.
that's a lot of people. So I'm now trying to think, where are other people not gonna go? And just trying to think about where can I go to get away from everybody, but also still put myself up in a position for success. And I kept coming back in my mind to that one place that we found, some fish. And the reason that place was off the table from the beginning, was because when I went out there to pre-fish, I found out we don't have cell service out there.
Right.
And that's super important. So if you don't have cell service where you're fishing, that means if you catch a fish, you can't enter it in. If you can't enter it in, you don't have credit for it. So you could catch all the fish you want out there, but unless
Yeah.
you get them entered into that app in the phone,
Right.
none of it's any good. So automatically for me, if I can't enter my fish, that puts that spot at the very bottom for
Yeah.
me. But by the time we'd finished out, Thursday and Friday in practice, and we'd gone to 2 other places, and by this time I've hit 5 different places and I've found no pattern, and I've ended up stranded on dry ground at 3 of the 5 places. Like,
True. Yeah.
it was unforgiving and brutal conditions,
Yeah.
blowing 15 to 20 with negative a foot
Yeah.
tides, like, and I know
That makes
that's
a lot
not,
of difference over there because they only get like what 2 foot tides anyways. So you losing a foot of water,
yeah, our tides aren't
you're yeah. Yeah, it's not that big of a swing
our
over there.
tides aren't our tide swings aren't large, especially during the winter. And then,
Yeah.
our flats here are actually fairly shallow, but they're wide. You have a flat that's 3 miles wide from the shore and only 2 foot deep.
Yes.
So when that whole flat dumps out, you got 3 miles of dry ground, that
Pretty much.
you
Yeah.
got to get out of. So that's what it was. That's what it boiled down to, man. Like, okay, at the captain's meeting, I'm thinking about, where am I going to have water? Where can I get fish that I can get into the app? So
Yep.
finally I decided the only place I'd really found fish consistently was the place that didn't have phone service.
Right.
And I as much as of a gamble that is, and I hate to make it, I figured I could do something to,
Yeah.
maybe turn that into a place that I could use. So what I
Mhm.
did was, on the last day of pre-fishing before the captain's meeting, I went back to my camper and I loaded up my Starlink and
Yeah.
I put it in the back of my truck. And if you guys can see,
Yeah. If you're
that's my
watching the video, you
satellite
can
there.
see right there. He had a
Yeah, it's
Starlink set up on
so
the back of the bed of the
so
truck, man.
I
Dude,
had to throw the
that's a
Starlink in
key.
the bed of my truck,
Yeah.
brought it from my camper so that I would have service to be able to put in my launch
Same.
photo and everything at the ramp.
Yep.
So yeah, we went out there, man, and really I'll just say that, dude, that day on the water, before I say anything else, it was just blessed, man.
Yeah. And
It's
that's a
just one of those
two
days.
fish combined stringer there, 2 fish total length. What
Yeah, we do a
27 is
two
the
fish
top end
total.
of the yeah.
Yeah, we
Yep.
do a 2 fish total aggregate on our inches.
Mhm.
Everything goes by quarter inch. 27 being the,
Upper.
obviously all our fish are within slot, but our tournament director has decided to allow us 27-inch fish. Since we are CPR, they
Yes.
allow 27-inch fish as long as it touches the line of 27 but does not cross
Go.
it,
Yeah.
which is, very, very, very marginal. But
Yes.
we proved on tournament day that unicorns do exist. There is such a thing. But yeah, man, so just kind of jump back. When we launched, there was only about 4 other guys there. A buddy of mine, Garrett, who also is a Salt Strong member and Fishing the Trail, he launched with me as well. And since he's who I practiced with, and when we got out there, everybody kind of just spread out.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of did their own thing. And we all caught the last bit of the outgoing tide. During that last bit of the outgoing tide, maybe an hour, all of us had to drag out too. We got out there and we had to drag our kayaks out there to get to,
Oh man, get to the
flats.
launchable water. Yeah.
Yeah, to the flats. So when we got out there, we all kind of split up on the flats and just kind of went out and fingered out in our own different directions. And I had a trend that, in my mind, that they were just holding behind the rock piles on the down current side.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I kind of locked in my head, like I knew the tide was going out. In my head, the place I'm targeting is oyster bars and rocks. So I'm just trying to get on the down current side of those and follow the tide out, So I got out to where I was about 1.5 feet deep, about 2 miles off the shore, to where there was some structure out there. And I just power pulled down, started casting for about 5 minutes. And I got my first fish on a suspended twitch bait.
Yeah.
And working
I use
the
those things a
backside of
lot,
those.
dude. The Texas Custom Lures Double D it swims down and then kind of suspends and floats, and you can twitch it and rip it. And man, I catch so many redfish in the potholes on those. But I know what I haven't fished Steenhatchee, but I fished Keaton Beach before, and it has those similar rock piles and different things. Luckily, there's a couple channels you can get in and get out. There as easy as some of the ramps, but if y'all are just launching from like a roadside launch where you just pull up to the flats, y'all probably had what, 200 or 300 yard drag to get out.
Yeah, we had about that. Well, we actually launched in a creek system, but
Oh, a
when
creek.
we
Okay.
got to the mouth,
Yeah.
got to the mouth of the creek system, it was flat though,
Yeah.
like
Right.
there was a little water to float out the creek, but you got to the mouth of the creek, all the water had already beat you all the way out already. So we
Dang.
got
So
to the
y'all had a good
mouth
little
and
drag.
everybody
Yeah.
had to do some poling and some dragging,
Oh,
to get
yeah.
out of there,
No doubt. You
But
catch
once we
both
got out,
your Sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, did you catch both of your fish that ended up winning you the event on the Twitch baits, or did you change and figure something else out?
So I actually changed something up a little while. So once I followed that tide out, or I caught that first fish on that outgoing tide, and I just, was targeting that hard structure. And
Mm-hmm.
then I sat there and that first fish was about 18 and a half. I
Okay.
think that's what he was. But sitting there, I'd hooked up to and lost 2 other fish at the same time.
Yeah.
One might have been measurable, but the other wasn't. So
Yeah.
and they were quick, but I knew, then, like, that was comfort, but I wasn't stressing about losing them. To me,
Right.
I was happy that I'd had the action, because
Yeah.
for me, that was confirmation that my trend, or at least what I'm looking
Your pattern
for,
is working.
I'm on to
Yeah.
something.
That's
Exactly.
confidence.
I'm
That's the
on to I'm
confidence builder. You put a fish on the board
bingo.
already, and that's a big
Yeah.
confidence boost for you in the morning and stuff. Yeah. Especially when
Yeah, I'd
you got to
only
get
been
your fish
fishing about
early. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd only been fishing about 30 minutes before I had that 18 and a half. And man, some people may not be excited about a fish that barely measures, but like for me,
Oh, I
once you
am.
get that first one off you, it's like, we
Yeah.
can
That's a
we can
stress.
we can go to work now,
You go to
like, yeah,
work and
exactly.
especially knowing the signal situation there where you didn't have signal on the water and you have to get those fish uploaded by a certain time on that tournament management app. So knowing your own fish early and can get off the water, get back to the launching time, get your fish uploaded, that takes a big weight off your chest as well. You know?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So yeah, I sat there and hooked up a couple more times. Only got one measured on the board, but about the time I realized my bite's done. That's about the time I realized I'm sitting in less than a foot of water.
Yeah.
So, it kind of clicks like, all right, you need to get out of here,
Move
so I
on out.
push
Yeah.
further out. Yeah. So I get on back out, try and look for that same depth, that I'd
Hmm.
found the fish in earlier. And I just kept pushing out, man. But for the rest of that outgoing tide, it turned slack for, a little bit there. I only had about another 20 minutes and I never found anything else before it went to slack tide.
Yeah.
Slack tide, the wind shifted.
Mm.
When it turned from slack tide, the wind started coming out of the southwest and it started coming, Jack.
Yeah.
When that tide turned about, to slack tide, and then about time it started to come in, that wind just started picking up heavier and heavier. And we had been on a pretty good warming trend for like the 3-4 days
Yeah.
up till then, which was a crazy because the Saturday before we're in like the
It was
30s.
cold. Yeah. It was
And
cold.
yes, we're in the 30s. And then for the next 5-6 days, we're on a warming trend. By tournament day, they were,
It's seven,
I mean,
mid
I don't mean to
70s. Yeah.
jump ahead into what I saw, but like these
Mm.
fish were moving in a spring pattern. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Almost.
I
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
saw. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Like this was false spring what they were doing,
Yeah.
So um I'm anyway, so I move out there to slack tide and I sit and wait. Well, during practice, me and my buddy Garrett, we'd found some fish, the consistent fish that we found them at a certain spot at a certain part of the tide, and we knew
Yeah.
we had those fish timed. So it was all about waiting for that window,
That right
So
window.
we
Yep. For
knew
sure.
we knew we had to, be at this spot at this time. So when that tide started to turn, we knew we had 1 hour
Hmm.
before we needed to be in position. So we, pretty much decided that the flats was kind of the best place to be,
Hmm.
or at least that's where I stayed, So
Yeah.
what I did was, um, before we decided to start, or before we decide to start pushing in, I figure I'm gonna get some time on the flat, like I'm gonna try and take advantage of this 45 minutes to an hour a window I got out here. So I
Yeah.
push into the wind for about 10 minutes and just grind it out, getting just sprayed all over
Yeah.
me.
Oh yeah.
You know the feeling, dude, just
Yep.
going right into breakers and crashers like I'm busting it right into the wind, dude. And in my mind, I'm thinking we'll just get into the wind and we'll catch a drift, find some good structure, and we'll just start casting. We'll pick
Yep.
up, move down, start casting, pick up, move down, we'll cover the water, strategically. So that's what I do, man. I get upwind, man, and I just start, long bombing, dude. And by this point, I said the wind's howling, and anybody that's ever watched my videos, they know wake baits are my thing, man. And with this wind just kind of cranking up, I knew what I had to do. Like anything's gonna get lost out here. It didn't
Yeah.
matter. Like I was ready to start throwing a popping cork too, man. It was
Oh yeah.
howling, and I know people make fun of popping cork, man, but I've seen people win
Makes
tournaments,
plenty of
cash
noise.
checks, and
I've had last minute heroics on a
I've
popping cork for sure.
I'm telling you, man, I've cashed some checks with a popping cork. So like I'm ready to start chunking, So
Yeah.
but conditions are right. And with the structure, I'm thinking maybe like I could bounce this thing off of these rocks and stuff. So sure enough, I get upwind and I just start bombing down towards this rock pile. And I get probably 3-4 casts in, man, and I hook up. And when I hook up, I think I'm hung. Like I think I've hit the rock pile, and when I hit it, I just like go to yank it back to like free my
Hmm.
my hook.
Yeah.
And when I go to yank back to like snatch it to me, um, it snatched back, and that was when I knew like I didn't have a rock. Like I had I
Yeah. I got a
had
solid
I
one.
had that man, mama.
I
Yeah,
got
I
that
had
good
that
one on.
man.
That old good one.
Yeah, so, that's when I, realized I needed to go ahead and chill out. So I did. I got control of the fish, got his head turned, and as soon as I got his head turned, he ran straight at me. I mean,
Straight to you.
that
Yeah.
was an second confirmation that this was a good fish. You
Yep.
know, like as soon as I got his head turned, like it took everything I had to keep up with him, and he ran straight to me and under me. And I saw him coming. So on the way, I'd already gave him the drag. You know, I
Yeah.
loosened up on him. And when he was coming at me, he went straight up under the kayak, went behind the power pole, and I just turned my rod behind me and just let him have it. So he
Let
had
him rip.
almost
Yep.
free spooled going straight behind me. And you know, I slowly got control of him again, lifted the power pole, let him turn me, you know, and then got to where I could fight him head on
Yep.
again, drop my power pole back down. And it felt like a 10-minute fight, dude.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably close to like, you know, a minute and a half, but it felt like forever, man. And finally got him to the boat. And when I put this fish in the net, I knew that this fish was gonna be over. Like,
Yeah.
I
He's
even
like, man, this
screamed
fish
it,
gonna be
like,
over.
to
You can just get
Garrett.
that, and you just see him, and you're just like, man, this thing's got some weight. He looks kind of long, man. This thing gonna be over. Yep.
My
Yep.
buddy Garrett was, you know, he was a good ways away from, like, I don't know, probably 40, 50 yards from me, and I could hear him. He asked me how good it was, and I just said, "Man, it's not gonna measure. It's gotta be over, man." And I put that thing on the board, and man, it slid in, and it was perfect, dude. Like,
Damn.
it was unreal, man. And I knew that moment, like, you know, the game just changed.
Yep.
You know what I
Man, I got a
mean?
shot.
Like
Like I got a big shot.
the game just changed, you know, like so I came out there to like just put up a respectable number. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I came out there to show up, support the event. I felt bad. Like I'm like, there's no way I can not show up. Like I
Right.
didn't want to be there. I'm already in a lot of pain from, you know, whatever ailment I have, you know,
Yeah.
like I don't want to be on the water doing this, but now everything just changed. You know, like I wanted to come out there and catch 2 23-inch fish and, you know, say, yeah, it was a good time. Glad to see everybody, get my
Yeah.
points and go home, you know. But
Right.
now the whole dynamic of this entire event just changed. It's not even 11 o'clock, and I now have top tier fish. Like you can't,
Yeah.
I have one fish you can't beat. So now
Right.
I have a chance at Big Red. I can't sit, mind you, because of
But
where
you
I
can't
am,
submit.
like,
The
you
time
know,
factor comes
not
into
only
yeah.
not only can I not enter my fish, I have no idea where anybody else stands
Right.
either.
Yep.
So I have no idea what any that's another thing that like I mean it doesn't affect me because I'm not somebody that watches the leaderboard during my day.
Yeah.
I
Same.
got one thing to do. My job is find them fish.
Find
I
the
don't worry
fish.
about everybody else's standings, but so I don't know where anybody else is at, but you know, if anybody else gets a 27-inch fish, whoever got theirs in first is the one that's going to get Big Red. So I
Yep.
need to make sure that my fish is entered in, you know,
In a timely
properly
manner.
and
Yep.
on time. Yeah. So at that point, like I said, the game just changes for me. Now I feel like I need another fish, you know. So I at the same spot, I power pulled down, you know, right where I caught that one on that same rock pile,
Yeah.
and I cast for like the next 30 minutes, and I just knew another one was going to show,
Yeah.
and I was so wrong. Nothing ever showed.
Oh
Nothing
man.
ever came. Like and by this time now we're getting to the time where the water level is starting to get where it needs to be for us to move to
Mhm.
where we know they're going to be.
Stacking up.
So
Yep.
exactly. So now I got two fish that I wasn't even counting on, and one of them's a hammer.
Yeah.
So I feel like I like my odds moving into position now that this tide's coming in. Mind you, at this time it's like 11:30. Lines out is at 3 o'clock because we had a fog delay that morning. So we didn't get to
Right.
start till 8. So, you know, lines out at 3 o'clock. So at 11 o'clock, pushing in when the tide coming in, I'm feeling good with my two fish at this point. So we move into you know, an oyster bar, and when we get there, uh we power pull down, and I chunk at an oyster bar with the wake bait, and I get a follower, and I see him come right to the kayak, and I even try and hit him with like the old figure eight, man. Like he wasn't scared
Yeah.
of me at all. Like
Right.
he just sat there and looked at it, and then turned off and swam away.
Swim
So I
away.
sat there chunking for a minute, and I never had another taker, but that told me like they're here though.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
I know they're here. So and I changed it up. Like I threw a few different things, I mean, 8 rods in the back for a reason,
Oh,
like, so
yeah.
I'm reaching behind me. I'm giving them any different look I can think of, something near the top, something on bottom, So
Mhm.
finally I get to that mode where I'm just covering water systematically again, picking up, letting down every 10 yards, so I'm not
Yep.
spooking nothing while I drift. And I pick up and move in and I park down, and about the time I cast in, dude, right into the spot where we've identified where they were in practice, the spot we
Mhm.
think they're supposed to be now. I cast in there with the kicker crab, and
Oh, yeah.
because that's what I caught them on in practice in that spot, bumping on the rocks and oysters there.
Yeah.
So I throw a kicker crab in there from Z-Man, and bumping it along bottom, and I get hammered, man. And I set the hook on this sucker, and I get tight for a few seconds, and I'm fighting him, and then I go slack. My line goes slack, and I think I've popped off.
Oh,
So
man.
I start reeling in real fast, and then I get hit again. I'm back on, and now I'm fighting this fish, and then it goes slack again, and I'm off. I reel in and I look at my hook. My hook's fine. My lure's just,
Oh, man.
I
Yeah.
don't know what happened. I lost the fish, 2 different fish or something. I
Different
have no
fish.
clue. Throw back in there. Now, this is all within about 45 seconds.
Yeah.
Shoot right back in there as soon as I get back in, get my lure fixed, hook up again as soon as it falls, fight that fish for about 3 or 4 seconds, and then he pops me off clean. Like I feel it. I'm
Mm.
broke.
Yeah, he got you on the
Reeling
oyster or
that
the rock.
slack
Yep.
in, oh yeah, I'm getting rocked every time.
Yep.
That's what's happening. Like
Yeah.
I know what they're doing. They're sitting
Yep.
in these holes of these rocks, and as soon as it's coming off that rock ledge, they're hitting it and they're
Thunk.
going right back
Yep.
in the rock. It's just like reef fish. I'm just
Yep.
getting rocked every time. I know what's happening. So sure enough, my buddy Garrett, he's just watched me miss my shot on 3 fish. And he shoots about the same area, and he hooks up, and then he comes in with the fish and he's fighting his. I turn around. By the time he's hooked up, or he hooks up, and I holler at him, I said, if there's a kicker crab in that fish's mouth, it's mine.
That's
So
mine. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I just want my hook and my lure
Yeah. I just
back,
want my jig
So
head
I
and my
grab a
lure
new
back.
rod.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grab a new rod, chunk back in there with the wake bait, because I know they're rocking me every time. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking if I can keep something up a little bit in the column, maybe I got a fighting chance of getting
Yeah.
them out of there. So sure enough, that's what I do, man. I burn the wake bait across the top, and I hook up, double up with Garrett. That was our second double up of the day. That 27 I caught, he had caught a 23 at the same time too.
Nice.
And yeah, we got our fish in. His was about 23 or something like that. So he's now got 2 measurable fish.
Yeah.
I got 2 good measurable fish. Mine ended up being 25 and a quarter.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so let me just back up and punt for a second. So when we were waiting that hour or whatever, and I told you I'm just bombing at this rock pile, man, and I'm
Yeah.
struggling and I'm hurt. I made a move, I told you I pushed up into the wind and went hiking for a minute on solo mission trying to find something. And when I did, man, I had a conversation with God, and like I'm not one to pray to win, like
Yeah.
that's not, I don't feel like that's the right thing to pray for right there. And
Right.
but I do pray to do my best, and I
Do your
always
best.
pray that
Yep.
everybody's safe and has a good
Safe.
time. I always pray before we launch and everything. But like that day, I was having a conversation with God, man. I was really struggling out there, in a lot of pain, and didn't want to. I knew there's no way I could grind out another 4 hours on the water in these conditions, casting, just trying to hit targets and hope for the best to win this thing,
Yeah.
So I really, was just going to be grateful for anything. So I just kind of prayed and asked God. I was like, hey man, it's me again. You give me a 23, 24 inch fish, I'm gone, dude. Like I'll go to the hill, I'll go, I mean, you know, any mid slot fish, you know, I'll
I'm
go
gone.
cheer on everybody from dry
Yeah.
land, dude. I'm good. I don't care if I win. I just want to weigh respectable fish and
Yes.
you know, do well. You know, I want to be able to perform to the best of my ability. So that's what I did, man. I prayed, you know, that, you know, he helped me, you know, get through what I could and um be able to push through and be able to perform like I'm able to. And um so when I got down there and caught that fish and got him measured and took my picture, man, I was like, um, it's all on film, man. I was like, y'all know about buck fever. You've heard of buck fever. Like there was a moment right there, man. I almost, you know, I told Garrett like I'm about to cry, man. Like, you know, it was
Mhm.
just I came out to just, you know, prove to myself that I could get out there and do it,
Yeah.
and to go out there and mess around and stumble on the fish that I did, man. I knew that trip was blessed, you know, like it
Yes.
wasn't, you know, I put myself to be in a position for success, but there was definitely a higher power at work there, man. And I definitely had a great day. I ended up turning to my buddy Garrett and I told him, I was like, hey Bubba, so I don't want to leave you, but I gotta go.
Yeah.
I gotta go get these fish in, you know, like you know, I don't want to leave you. What do you want me to do? And he said, no, you need to get out of here. Go get those fish in.
Don't get.
So that's
Yeah.
what I did. I ended up making a long hike back, and it was about an hour and 15 minutes for me to get back to the truck. By the time I got back to the truck, I'd left the fishing grounds at like 12:45. When I
Mhm.
got back to my truck, it was 2 o'clock, and there was only an
And
hour left in fishing. I had
lines
no
out
idea what
was 3.
3.
And then do
Yeah.
they have a
So I had
submission window as well after lines out? Is there like an extra 30 minutes like
yeah.
most tournaments? Okay.
We had an hour grace period. So lines
Oh, an
out at
hour. Okay.
3,
And
submissions
it
in by
submission by
4,
4. Oh, that's cool.
because our range was so wide for the
Right.
event, and just like this, a lot of the areas don't have
And
service.
cell signal.
So,
Yeah.
you know, they wanted to make sure everybody had equal opportunity to be able to get their entries in, you know, and if I hadn't had Starlink, you know, I would have had to get off the water an hour and a half early just to be able to drive to service to get submissions in. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's one thing you have to take into account when you fish in a place like that. So, yeah, I finally got back to the ramp at 2 o'clock, man. Got the satellite plugged in at the truck and got the app open and finally got the submissions in. And but they'd cut the leaderboard off
Mhm.
at 12 o'clock. So I had no idea. I never got to see the scoreboard all day. I didn't know what anybody's fish were. I didn't know what anybody had.
Right.
I had no idea where anybody was all day. So all I knew was what I had. That was
Yeah.
it. So it really was like full suspense all day
Right.
because, you
Yeah,
know,
and you were on
all I
edge.
knew was
And that's kind of
yeah,
the most exciting wins is when you don't really know what's going on and they call you. They keep calling. They say, "Okay, so and so with this many inches." You're like, "Oh crap, I have more than that." And then so and so, and then taking the win with whatever. And then you're like, "Man, it's like super exciting, and your the emotions, the feel good, the feels hit you, and it's man, I'm dude. There's some feels going on when your name gets called on that top, buddy. I'm gonna tell you that right now,
it was good,
man.
man. And
Yeah.
and the fact that I got to you know, my buddy who was fishing with me when I left, you know, I ended up when I told him when he ended up showing back up to the ramp, and I said, "Man, I'm sorry I left you." You know, like he made it back when lines were out and after tournament was over, and you know, I said, "Man, I waited for him." I said, "Man, I'm sorry. I didn't want to leave you." You know,
Yeah.
he said, "No, man, it's all right." And I said, "Man, truthfully, me leaving you was probably the best thing that could have happened to you. Like, you know, like now you're in the zone, you're playing
In
your
the zone too.
game, you
Yeah.
know, like you're not worried about me, you know, and you know, we're not shooting on the same flat together, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
so yeah, he ended up coming out with a couple good fish as well, man, upgrading both his fish and ending with a
Dang.
third place finish. You
Nice.
know,
Solid.
my buddy Garrett Boynkin, but huge kudos to Pamela Worth though. Let me
Yeah.
just
She
like
pulled a
stop for a
second, right?
second. Like Pam came in second by a quarter of an inch. Now, like
Oh,
that she put up 52 inches. That's
yeah.
That's two 26-inch fish.
26-inch average.
That's
Yeah,
a solid.
that's solid
That's a
when you top
solid
out at
show, man.
54, right? I mean, yeah,
And mind you, this is the same lady that just put on a clinic, a 2-day showstopper at the championship in November as well. Like,
right, right.
huge, huge kudos to Pam,
Big
man.
kudos to
My
Pam.
hat's
Need
off
to
to
get her
her,
on.
man. She's definitely a hammer,
Yeah,
a certified swinger, man. She's
no
definitely
doubt,
crushing
man.
it.
Yeah, and that's it. That was that January 27th stop in Steenhatchee at Seahag Marina, Florida Redfish Series. Man, they got a Panhandle Division 2, and an East Coast Division. The next event is February 24th in Panama City at Bay Point, and then they go to Jacksonville on March the 16th for at Jim King Park Ramp. April 6th, Crystal River at the Plantation. May 4th, Panacea. I'll see y'all at that one. Rock Landing, Woolly Park. And then June 1st at St. Augustine, to be determined. Maybe we'll figure
Our
out something
Panacea
here.
and Crystal River dates have actually been swapped.
Oh, so Panacea is April
The
6th
dates
now.
are the same. Correct. The
But they
dates are the
swapped them.
same, just the
Okay.
locations. You're right, 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 right. So yeah,
So
there was
April
just a
6th,
scheduling
Panacea.
conflict with something. Yeah,
Okay.
that
And
should
I
be
am off.
updated on their
I am off
website.
and I am coming to that one. I'll be there Wednesday.
Awesome, man. Yeah, all of that information
I'll need
should
a
be
place to
updated on
stay.
their
Whoever's
website.
out there listening. Yeah, I'll find somewhere to stay. I like that area too. I like I don't know if St. Mark's is going to be inbounds for that. I have to look at the boundaries because I fished that area quite a bit. I like that area over there. I sure do.
Yeah, it's
Man, that's
great.
going to be a
Great
killer
fishery,
series,
man.
dude. The only
For
thing
sure,
that
for sure.
I'm cool. I'm a little outspoken on things, and I have my opinion just like everybody else does. There's 6 events, but all 6 events count to the AOI. That kind of sucks for out of state guys that want to come over because normally the series have some throwaways, like at least 2. Say with a 6 event series, their best 4 usually counts, or your best, or if you got a 5 event series, your best 3. So maybe if some more opinionated people might say something for next year, they might kind of help that out a little bit because that's what's keeping me from going to all of them. Because there's no way I can swing all 6 events living in Texas, 15 hours away from Jacksonville and St. Augustine. It's a little less to Panacea and Panama City. It's 11. It's a good haul for me to get over there. I know y'all had some guys. Y'all had Andrew Imes came down, Joe Comiotti. Y'all had a couple of guys from North Carolina, South Carolina come down as well, and in Georgia.
Yeah, some real hammers, man.
Shallow Water Odyssey, that guy. Yeah. So it's good to see the diverse crowd. Yeah. No doubt. Yeah, it's good to see the diverse crowd, but man, I feel that there'd be even more if you had a couple events you could drop because that way you ain't got to make all 6, which is tough, especially trying to see us fish some of the Bassmaster events and some freshwater stuff as well. It just, man, I don't have one thing in mind. I want to do a lot of them.
Yeah, it was brought up. The tournament director, he's aware of how it kind of is kind of divided up in other trails or other series, where you have drop events. And he's not necessarily against that at some point in the future, I think.
Right.
But he's still just trying to build a lot of participation and
build a legit trail. He's doing a great
maybe
job.
There's an opportunity for him to add a couple more stops to where he can keep 6. I think that may be what he may be looking to do at some point in time. Maybe having an 8 event series and taking the best 6 at one point. But there's a lot of room for growth there, man. And we are only the 2nd year with kayaks,
right?
So and so it's still growing, man. And there's still a lot that they're probably going to introduce over the next year.
Oh yeah, and introduce and add a couple where they allow motors too. That would be awesome.
That's definitely something I think they have a hard limit on, man. I think that's where they're drawing the line for now, anyway. Maybe in a year or 2 they might reassess or
with Hobie BOS allowing them now, and I mean, I'm gonna tell you now, on the East Coast, I grew up fishing over there. There ain't gonna be many spots I'm fishing without a motor over there, especially Jacksonville, Fernandina. That tide moves too hard in places, and it's just for fatigue, especially later in the year, the hot months, man, I'm decent shape, but I'm gonna tell you, it makes a hell of a difference to spread the field out and everything. I'm all for. Well, I mean, yes, I'm on Torquedo's team, and I promote the hell out of them. But I know what I can do with one, and I know I can cover 30 miles in a day, no problem. you know. And then again, I have my
Yeah,
pedal drive, and I do events where there's no motors like the Galveston Redfish series last year. Still didn't allow motors, and we did 11 miles one day. No problem. But we don't have a 9-foot tide swing.
yeah, it's definitely
you know.
something that's that's different,
There's pros
man.
and
And
cons for all of it, Yeah.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, man.
For sure. But dude, man, great info and congrats on that big win over there that was a stacked field too. 76 anglers taking the top spot with that, man. That's an accomplishment for sure. I know
Yeah,
you're looking
man. My
forward to
hat's
the
off
next
to
stop for sure.
Yeah, my hat's off to everybody that fished that event, man. Like there were some real hitters that showed up, man. That's the thing, man. Like it was, just like you said, it was one of those wins that, you aren't really like prepared for,
Yeah.
Granted, I do well, I do well as it is, but I wasn't doing well at the time,
Right.
so for me to have won that one and to know that the field doubled, and just like you were talking about, like, there's, man, the people that showed up to fish this thing, like, they're not just anybody, like there's people that know how to
No
fish and are
slouches,
good
man.
at
There's
it.
a bunch of
And
hardcore guys like us.
exactly. And I respect the heck out of all of them, because
Everybody.
like
Yeah.
when I first came into the saltwater game, these are the people I look up to,
Yeah.
and now I'm fishing, shoulder to shoulder with them, and I'm able to hold my own, like
Dave, Brandon
and
Barton. I'm sure Benton Parrott will
absolutely,
come out.
man.
Panama City event. I'm sure Benton's fishing that one. He's well known.
I fished the Panama event with him last year, so
Yeah,
I'm
he's a good
sure
dude.
we're going to try and talk him out of retirement again for another hoorah one time. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
man. So I mean, with all those names that are showing up, dude, like I respect all these guys, like I
Shoot,
know
yeah.
what they're capable of. They're good at what they do, So for me to come out and stand at the top, man, with my friends and my peers there,
Yeah.
that's the real win for me,
That's killer.
man.
You had your family
I'm
there
just
too, huh?
no, not for this one. They were there
Not
for
for
the
this.
championship.
Okay.
Family was there for the championship. But and I managed third place at the championship, but
Right.
we locked up Angler of the Year there. And
That was at Crystal
that
River,
being able to
right? The
share that,
championship or the Crystal River
the
or the
championship was
championship
at
was
Steenhatchee.
Steenhatchee as well. Okay, cool. So you're
Yeah.
already kind of familiar with the area too. That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, we had just come off the championship in November. So and then
November.
we're coming back 2 months later for the season opener.
Yeah. Well, killer. Now that I know that date's changed, I'm putting in vacation for that event and I'm coming out. If y'all want to rent a
Absolutely,
house
brother.
or something or whatever y'all are doing, Courtney, or I'm sure we'll figure something out. I'm gonna get in on that one for sure. But yeah,
You
we're gonna.
already know, man.
Oh shoot, yeah, I'll be ready to go. Yeah, but no, I'm gonna throw some other stuff your way, man. Man, that's a hell of a win. I know that. Well, I got this deal I do called Pick Three, but obviously you got way more rods than three, and I do. But yeah, if you had to pick your three favorite setups, rod and reel, give me what they are, the length, the reel, and then what baits you'd have tied on your top three. Go.
All right, man. Probably one of my favorite setups is my wake bait setup. I run that with a TFO Pro and a BGMQ 3000. Um, that's that's spinning gear,
Yeah,
and so and then probably another favorite is the Salt Strong slot machine. That's our custom rod at Salt Strong. Um, High modulus, just outrageous sensitivity, and
yeah,
I can use it for anything and everything. Right now, I have two of them, and I'm running one with a BGMQ, but I'm running another one with a Daiwa Tatula, and I'm loving that. I've
yeah,
been using that for a little while, and that is quickly becoming a favorite of mine. Not just the rod. The rod is immaculate, but that reel is awesome as well. Um, and and I'm using like paddle tails or jerk shads on
right.
that. And then my third would probably be one of two, man. It's a bull bay, and it's either going to be the Banshee or the Bolt. The Bolt is probably my favorite for all around. That's what I had the kicker crab on when I
Yeah.
broke off. The Bull Bay Bolt is a great rod, and I like it because it can do a lot of things for me.
It's a
Like
good all
if
around
I
rod.
need
Yep.
to retie, I can retie on that rod at any time because it'll do whatever I need it to, and
Yeah.
the sensitivity is great on it. It's, not a break the bank rod, but the quality on those blanks is really good. And 10-pound line on all of those, and 20-pound mono, Andy mono, man.
Yeah. 10-pound braid to
Like even
20-pound Andy
that day on the
for
water.
yeah.
Yeah, that day on the water when I broke off, I said,
Yeah.
it's on camera. I said, so I caught that fish, right? And I brought him in, and and it was that big one. I broke off in the rocks and stuff. So I brought that fish in, put him on the board, and saw what he was, took my picture, and I said, if there's two things you're gonna trust in, it's Jesus Christ and Andy Mono, son.
Andy mono. There you go.
Because I just broke off on fluoro and like
Yeah.
put that Andy Mono
Put the
right back
mono
in
on.
there.
Yep.
And it was good, man.
Dang.
For sure. Like a lot of people believe in fluorocarbon, and I'm not saying that there aren't perks for it, but monofilament is 100% abrasion resistant, superior, 100% superior over fluorocarbon
fluoro. Yeah.
as far as abrasion resistance.
Yeah, and we're talking clear water applications down there too. That water around there is the visibility is pretty damn good, for sure. So you're not throwing straight braid.
Right. Yeah, no, it gets tannic and it does get cloudy sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
But we had a incoming tide for most of the day, so everything we had that day was pretty clear where we were.
Clarity was a couple foot easy, 2-3 foot visibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Man, I love, the assortment of baits you have on the water nowadays, stuff you can use, the twitch baits, the wake baits. Dude, there's stuff I do to my wake baits here because we have some deeper flats, that might get down to 3.5 foot, here and there with the potholes and everything. And I take some of the, the fly tire, it's got the lead wire. I wrap them around the front treble hook and they suspend. I get my wake baits to suspend like 2 foot under the water. That's it's like a shallow running crankbait that, that don't run quite as deep as a square bill. But, if you're listening out there, the bass eat the crap out of them things too around, eelgrass and submergent hydrilla. If you don't know, maybe I ain't supposed to share it, but oh well. There are certain ones I use. Yeah, there's certain ones I use that I use, but man,
we've been prototyping one at Salt Strong where I should be it's in production now. It should be available by spring. My custom wake bait. We've kind of taken some designs and some things from a few differents, made some tweaks, and kind of releasing something that's a little bit different.
I'll be excited to see that one.
Yeah, man, we're not reinventing the wheel, but there's a couple things that I've found, like I've used them for a long time, and there's a couple things that I've found that are common, like that I feel are a negative or a con to a lot of them, almost all of them straight out the box. And there's some things that you can fix straight out the box, and there's some things you needed to redesign. So we redesigned a lot of the things that we thought we needed to, and maybe change a couple things. And I think we might even do another one that runs, maybe that 1.5 foot, like 15-incher, up under the surface.
I burn them as fast as I can reel them on a 7.2, and I get them down. There's ways to fish it. There's people that just reel them real slow and they zigzag on the top. That's fine and dandy, but there's other ways to do it. I rip it like a jerk bait. Like maybe I'm sharing too much. Maybe it's TMI, but that's my search bait for sure. I can find fish for that thing. That's the juice.
It's the juice.
When all else fails, there's a popping cork in a especially with submerged structure. A wake bait excels big time.
One time for my man Courtney with the tourist rig and the popping cork. My man showed up for the championship, caught 2 fish on a popping cork within 30 minutes of getting out on the flat, looked at me and said, I'm gone.
I'm gone.
Just like
bye.
that.
Courtney
He
Snook,
cut a
man,
check
he's a
at the
cool guy.
championship on the popping court. He probably spent an hour and a half on the water total.
Yeah. Man, I just got these braid Osakana slides. It's a soft plastic glide baits.
Oh, those look cool, man.
They're not super heavy. They're a little under 2 ounces, and they dude, I've been on the trout on the glides.
Oh yeah. I saw them ladyfish glides you had the other day.
Oh yeah, that's Donkey Bay. There's a mullet one right there. Look at that one.
Yeah, that looks cool.
And these, oh crap, what happened? Dustin, watch out. Something popped up on my screen. No, don't do it. Yeah, but yeah, man, dude, that's killer. Wake baits. I'm excited. Okay. And then we had to pick 3. Now we got a quick 5. Just answer it. Just one or the other. You can give me the answer. Not sure if you're a football or baseball fan, but I just throw stuff out there. But here, redfish or trout?
Redfish.
Tops or tails? Top water or plastic? Yeah, tops or tails?
Top water, man.
Top
Always
water, yeah.
top water.
Always top water blow up. Yeah.
Top water.
Barbecue
Always
or seafood?
Seafood.
There you go. Jaguars or the Dirty Birds, the Falcons? Or neither?
I got to go Jaguars, man.
All right, right on. Braves or Devil Rays?
I'll sauce it up with the Devil Rays, man.
There you go. All right.
Sauce it
there
up
we
with
go.
the Devil Rays.
Right on, man. I always like to throw something a little off the hip there and, get a little deal. I just kind of go, regional specific with teams and stuff here and there, or food or lures or something. We like to have fun here on Chasn the Tide. I'm a little damn high strung and everything, so we got to keep it real. All good. So yeah, man, it's been a great having you on the show, man. We're a little over an hour right now. I'm sure my wife wants to get in the bedroom. She had a long day. She was already napping. I had to kick her out earlier. So man, we got time for some shout outs. You want got any sponsors you want to give some love to, and then give some love to the Florida Redfish series for kicking off of the second season, great fashion with a lot of anglers and all that, man. Stoked. You can have the mic.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah,
absolutely. Obviously Salt Strong, #1 saltwater fishing club in America. Absolutely. Dustin, I'll give you a link. If anybody wants to get a free trial to Salt Strong, I'll give Dustin a free link. So you guys can get a free trial, get access to that. But it's really what made all of that possible, man. The data that we got from our Smart Fishing Spots app, from that map, I can get on there and see everywhere I need to fish, know all the information I need about any type of structure points, oyster bars. It's all in there. Hobie Fishing, Sunjammers, huge thanks to the folks at Sunjammers for always really just going above and beyond any kayak needs in Northwest Florida. Definitely check out Sunjammers in Destination Panama City. And definitely Hobie Eyewear for sure. Love the new glasses from Hobie Eyewear. Definitely wouldn't be able to see them fish without the glasses. We appreciate Florida Redfish series for their hard work. Definitely putting on a great series for us, man. Definitely looking forward to finishing out another great year, man. For sure.
Shoot, yeah, brother. Yeah, if y'all want to follow along Matt on his adventures, y'all check him out on Instagram at Matt in a Yak, MATTINAYAK, and then YouTube channel. What you got?
They can just check out Salt Strong, man.
Salt Strong, you're on really Salt. Okay, you get
YouTube
content for Salt Strong. Okay, 10-4.
Yeah, I don't really keep up with mine anymore, man.
Same.
But yeah, they can check me out on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm on the socials, but YouTube, find me on Salt Strong.
Saltstrong.com. There you go. Check it out, man. Subscribe to Salt Strong. Lots of good info out there. Lots of great fishing coaches out there, just like Matt himself. Man, big props on the win. Appreciate you coming on, and y'all check him out on social. Follow him along there. And we'll see y'all next time on Chasing the Tide. Thanks to Waterloo Rods for supporting my show. And thanks for tuning in to Paddle Fin. We can do this without all the listeners. We appreciate y'all. And we'll catch y'all next time. Hang tight, Matt. We'll be done here in a second. I'm going to run this ender right now. All right.